She said I was too controlling for wanting to know where she was. Funny thing is, her location said Motel 8. So I left her a note there. That's not how this started, of course. Not in a way you'd notice if you weren't looking closely. It wasn't cheating at first, or at least, not the obvious kind. No lipstick on collars. No half-dressed men scrambling out the window. It started like most endings do, small, quiet, almost polite. The first time she turned off her location, she said her battery died. The second time, she claimed the app was glitching. By the fourth, I stopped asking. She used to text me when she got somewhere safe, just a simple "made it" smiley face. That stopped around spring. The excuses got lazier. I figured I'd respect her space. Give her room. I didn't want to be that guy. The jealous husband, the paranoid one. I've seen what that looks like. My father was that man. But sometimes, not asking questions is how you end up living in one. I think back to last Thanksgiving. Her phone lit up while we were setting the table, a name I didn't recognize. She grabbed it too fast, laughed too loud, said it was work. We were hosting, so I smiled. I kept carving the turkey, telling myself the truth comes slow, not loud. She started dressing differently in ways that felt rehearsed, curated for someone else's eyes. Shorter skirts, redder lipstick. Nothing wrong with change, but it was the way she'd linger in the mirror, checking angles I never used to see her care about. I made dinner one night, her favorite, pan-seared salmon with roasted sweet potatoes. She came home 2 hours late, smelling like someone else's cologne, and told me she already ate. That was the night I started tracking her phone. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I couldn't trust myself to keep pretending. The day her location pinged Motel 8 was a Thursday. She'd said she was having drinks with coworkers at a place downtown. The motel, though, wasn't downtown. It was 17 minutes west, industrial side of the city. Cheap, quiet, no cameras I could see from the lot. I sat in my car for 10 minutes outside, heart pounding like a war drum. I wasn't sure what I expected, to see her through a window, pressed against someone else, to catch her hand in hand with a man who didn't know I existed. But nothing happened. Just silence. Just that flickering neon sign, sputtering like it was trying to confess something too. I didn't knock. I didn't call. I drove to a gas station, bought a small notepad, and wrote a single sentence in blue ink. You said I was controlling for asking where you were. Funny, your location says Motel 8. So I left you a note here. I folded it once, clean and sharp, like I was tucking away a piece of who I used to be. Slipped it under the windshield wiper of her car. Then I got back into mine and drove home. She didn't come home that night. Or the next. I didn't text. I didn't call. I didn't cry. The space where panic should have been was filled with something quieter, heavier. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just clarity. I think I already knew before Motel 8. Maybe not with certainty, but with something worse, familiarity. That sick, slow certainty that comes from watching someone you love start rehearsing life without you. She returned Sunday morning. I was sitting at the kitchen table, still in the same chair I'd been in when I got back from the motel. She smelled like stale perfume and silence. Why didn't you call? She asked. I stared at her a moment too long. You said I was controlling. Her mouth opened, closed. She looked down at her shoes. You went through my location? She said, quieter this time. I didn't answer. That's the thing about the truth. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't unknow what you know. Like Motel 8. Like the look in her eyes now, not ashamed but caught. The kind of guilt that only shows up when the consequences do. She asked if I wanted to talk. I said no. I told her I needed time. She nodded like that made her the generous one. Then she went upstairs and packed a bag, as if leaving was her idea. That afternoon, I changed the locks. I didn't leave a note this time. I figured the one at the motel said enough. But here's the truth I didn't expect. It didn't feel like revenge. It didn't even feel like loss. It felt like silence finally had space to breathe. And I realized, maybe I wasn't trying to control her. Maybe I was just trying to stay in a story that she'd already rewritten without me. She came back 2 weeks later, wearing the same coat she left in, long, gray, and elegant, like the kind someone wears when they want to look important walking away. Only now it looked wrinkled, tired, like it had slept on someone's couch. She knocked this time. No key, no access, just the soft, rehearsed rap of someone hoping you've missed them more than you should. I opened the door and stood there, unmoved. I left some of my things, she said, voice steady, eyes scanning for weakness. Mine, not hers. They're in the garage, I said, stepping aside. She walked past me without looking up, and I caught the faintest scent of a man's cologne. Not mine, never mine. Her boots clicked on the hardwood like they still had permission to be there. But everything had changed. She opened a few boxes in the garage, digging through coats and sweaters, random pieces of a life that no longer belonged here. She pulled out a framed photo of us, our wedding day, paused, then turned it face down. I didn't ask why she came back. I didn't need to. I stayed with Melanie, she said, still not looking at me. After the motel. Just needed to clear my head. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. And him. She froze, just a blink too long. There's no him, she said flatly. Not the way you think. I almost laughed. Not the way I think. That's the favorite line of liars with just enough guilt to dress their betrayal in nuance. You could have told me you wanted out, I said. I didn't, she snapped, turning now. I just wanted space. You always need to know where I am, what I'm doing. It felt like suffocating. I nodded slowly. Wanting honesty is suffocating now. She dropped her hands to her sides, the bravado crumbling just slightly. You tracked my location. I didn't flinch. You lied about yours. The air between us held something electric. Not heat, not passion, but the charge of two people standing on opposite cliffs, too proud to build a bridge, too tired to jump. She sat down on a crate, exhaling like someone surrendering to a truth they tried to outrun. I don't know when we became this, she whispered. Right around the time Motel 8 became your alibi, I said quietly. She looked away, jaw clenching. Nothing happened. But the way she said it, the delay, the break in her voice, it wasn't denial. It was damage control. The kind you use when the lie isn't to convince me. It's to keep her own shame from swallowing her whole. I didn't sleep with him, she said again, eyes finally meeting mine. But I thought about it. That hurt more than a confession. Because desire, not action, is where betrayal starts. Motel 8 was just geography. The decision? That happened long before she ever booked a room. I wanted to feel wanted, she added, voice low. And there it was, the soft, selfish justification wrapped in wounded language. As if my love had become furniture in her life. Useful, predictable, invisible. I looked at her, really looked, and I saw the person I had loved. Or maybe just the version of her I'd built in my mind. Either way, she wasn't coming back. Not really. This visit wasn't a homecoming. It was a salvage mission. She wanted to see what was still hers to take. Are you coming back to fix this? I asked finally. She hesitated. I came to talk. No, I said, stepping back. You came to see if the door was still open. And now, watching her sit there, equal parts ashamed and calculating, I realized something brutal and necessary. She wasn't sorry. She was just cornered. And I was done being the wall she'd bounced off of every time the world didn't clap for her decisions. So I stepped aside again, held the door, said nothing. She gathered her things, left the photo, didn't say goodbye. Just like that, she was gone. But something tells me she's not finished. That's the problem with people who get away with small betrayals. They come back with bigger ones. And the next one? It would break more than trust. It happened on a Tuesday. A dull, ordinary Tuesday. The kind you don't remember unless something sharp cuts through the middle of it. I was working late, laptop glowing on the kitchen table, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I need to see you. I'm outside. My stomach didn't drop. My hands didn't shake. That part of me, the part that used to ache when she called, was gone. I opened the door, and there she was. Not with tears, not with apologies, with a manila folder in her hands. I want to come back, she said, like it was as simple as stepping through a door she'd walked out of. I raised an eyebrow, looked at the folder. That your resume? She smiled, tight and humorless. No, it's proof. I didn't ask. I just stood there. She held it out to me. You were right about him. I took the folder, slowly, more out of curiosity than concern. Inside, screenshots, text messages, even a few printed photos. Same guy from before. Only this time, he wasn't with her. He was with someone else. Someone newer. Younger. She left me for a man who left me for another version of me, she said bitterly. I didn't respond. She was unraveling her shame, hoping I'd help her stitch it back together. You always saw through people, she added. I used to hate that. Now I miss it. I closed the folder. So why are you here? She shrugged. I wanted to tell you you weren't crazy. That it really was what you thought. I nodded. Thanks for confirming the Motel 8 hypothesis. That stung. She winced, but didn't deny it. I made mistakes, she said. I almost laughed. No, you made choices. She looked at the floor. I thought you'd be happy. That maybe you'd forgive me. And here's the thing. I had. Not for her. For me. Forgiveness, I'd learned, wasn't about restoring what was lost. It was about releasing the grip the memory had on you. Letting the story end without needing an apology to do it. You're not the villain, I said, softer now. But you're not the victim either. She blinked. I could see the truth of it landing, heavy and real. She started, then stopped. I wanted to see if there was anything left. I opened the door wider, pointed to the sky. It was dark, cold, quiet. There's the night, I said. Take as much of it as you need. She nodded slowly, stepped out onto the porch. Paused. Can I ask you something? She said. I waited. That note. The one you left at the motel. Why'd you do that instead of confronting me? I looked her in the eye. Because I needed you to read something you couldn't argue with. You'd twist my words if I said them out loud. But written down? You'd have to sit with it. She didn't reply. Just nodded, almost respectfully. And then she left. No goodbye. No see you later. Just the sound of her footsteps fading down the driveway. The last echo of a story that wasn't about love anymore. It was about knowing when it ends. The thing about Motel 8? It was never about the motel. It was about clarity. About that moment when love finally stops making excuses for pain. When truth, even if it comes quiet, becomes the loudest thing in the room. She called once more a month later. I didn't answer. Some things don't need a sequel. Some notes are best left unread a second time.